It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Probably is going to keep us from ever getting interviewed from financial media. Our financial media is quickly climbing the ladder of being a service or a provider that is actually doing more harm to their end consumer and customer
than
good.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is true. And I wanted to give you some proof because I wanted to set the table and share with you some things I have found in my research. And one of the good things, and I don't mind giving credit where credit's due when I'm doing research and reading things. Michael Batnick at the Irrelevant Investor.
It's a popular blog.
He did a really good job of, he put together a chart called Reasons to Sell, and it basically has every year for the last 10 years. So March of 2009. Now realize this was written in 2017.
Okay.
So March of 2017. So it's getting close to 10 years worth of data. It doesn't have how good the full year of 2017 was. It doesn't have anything about 2018. I've got some other case examples for 2018. And I didn't want to go through every one of these headlines. So I did something. I didn't even have to spot check it or randomly do it. I just said, we're in the month of July 2018. I'm just going to spout off what it had for mid-year every year for the last 9 to 10 years.
And so the way this chart is laid out is it shows market performance over the last 10 years, and it shows what some of the major headlines or what I think he dubbed the reasons to sell were all along that 10-year period, right?
And it's amazing how you can set a clock that there's always something negative going on. I mean, like right now, they just got all of those kids out of that cave, but that was catastrophic. We've also got some crazy things going on. I mean, even 6 months ago, it was, worried about nuclear war with North Korea. There's just always something bad out there. And so let me go through these. 2009, mid-year, Chrysler and General Motors filed for bankruptcy.
Not good,
obviously. That seems like that wasn't that long ago, but that was going on close to 10 years. Fast forward to 2010, we had the flash crash. That's where everybody blamed it on the computers and the market going down because of all the electronic trading.
You see that kind of stuff, you're thinking, I got to get out of this market, get away from it.
Fast forward to 2011, the big story was the S&P was downgraded. The S&P downgraded U.S. debt, so the rating agencies downgraded our debt here in the United States.
Probably a sign that things aren't going to be going well in the future. 2012,
the Dow only had 5 positive days in a month for the first time since 1968.
Okay, so some cracks in the wall of worry.
Well, you think about it. I mean, 4 weeks, 5 trading days. I mean, that's 20 trading days, and we only had 5 positive. Yeah. That's a little unusual. Fast forward to 2013. And on this one, we had the taper tantrum. That's what it was dubbed at the time, where it was the 10-year rates jumped from 2.5% to 3% because we were getting away from the quantitative easing and other things like that. Fast forward to 2014, and here's one. This was on the nightly news: the Ebola virus contagion fears.
Okay.
I still don't know how that went away. It just all of a sudden the news media quit covering it, and I guess Ebola stayed in the CDC in Atlanta, and we all survived. You fast forward to 2015. Now, I've got several for 2015. It was the global stock market sell-off, meaning the Chinese stocks fell 45% in 3 months. We had other things going on globally. And then the Dow Jones fell 1,000 points for the first time ever. Now, here's one of my pet peeves when I saw that article.
That
title is that, yes, it was the first time that Dow Jones had fallen 1,000 points, but as a percent of the total Dow,
was not that much different.
It wasn't that big of it. It was much scarier back in 2008 and the early part of 2009. But man, the headlines sure did make you feel like, whew, I ought to be nervous about 1,000 points. And then last, July of 2016, crude oil bottoms after falling 77%.
Wow.
So every one of these headlines could make you want to react.
And, if you're an investor, you're thinking every time one of these things happens is, man, I need to get out of this. If it's this bad right now, that must mean that something worse is coming. I think that's, as humans, that's where our human nature goes, right? This is bad. It's only going to get worse from here.
Well, what are you supposed to do when you get this information? I mean, are you supposed to just absorb it? Are you supposed to? That's one of the things, I can't figure out. I know why the media does this, because this sells advertising. Sure. But if you take it a step further, have they thought through what the actions create? I would argue that I think that, yes, they might sell advertising, but they also create action.
That's right.
And it's not a positive action. This is the peer pressure that I'm talking about, guys, that makes you part of the herd that everybody always wonders, why isn't, I just saw this article yesterday. There was a headline that said, cash is still at all-time highs. Why is cash at all-time highs? Why is there so much money on the sidelines when we've had a really good financial markets for going on a decade now? Right. I mean, the collapse of 2008 and March of 2009, we're coming up on 10 years. It's really crazy. I want to give you one more case study to prove my point. And this is from 2018. Nick Murray is another financial advisor that publishes, he blogs, publishes content, writes articles and columns and other things. And he had a good case study on, if you haven't been paying attention, unemployment rates are doing some pretty amazing things right now.
Some historic things even.
At the end of May, they announced this at the beginning of June, the May unemployment rate fell to 3.755. Now, why did I report it as 3.755 versus, because all the news media printed it as 3.8%. If you actually took it out to the full decimal, that is the lowest unemployment since 1969.
That's kind of remarkable. That's almost 50 years ago, right?
I mean, it really is. I mean, when you get to that low of unemployment, it is that it's almost full employment, if it is not full employment, and it's a rising tide lifts all boats. And here's the proof of that, is that what are some of the hardest to employ groups of people out there in the population? You would think it's probably somebody who doesn't have a high school diploma.
That's right.
Well, the good news is from this unemployment report is that high school diploma, people with less than a high school diploma, so these are people that dropped out of high school, their unemployment is now 5.4%, whereas a year ago it was 6.2%.
So it dropped almost a full percentage point.
And I would argue 6.2% isn't bad for a group that has not even built the skill set to have a high school diploma. And then here's, you millennials, y'all get picked on something horrible for living with your parents and so forth. Well, part of the reason is you haven't had a great job environment for decades. I mean, you think about it really for the last decade. Here's of the close to 3 million jobs that were added over the last year, over 1 million of them, 1.04 were workers who were 25 to 34 years of age.
So that's square on the millennial age range.
And then you've got the older generation, 55 and older. Those are usually a hard to employ group. You hear about age discrimination and other things. They also picked up close to 1.1 million, jobs over the last year. So that's pretty incredible stuff.
What I'm hearing from you are the two areas of the population that are generally the hardest to employ. Even the numbers inside of those generations are dropping. So it's been a really, really healthy employment thing that we've seen happen over these past couple of years.
So this data got dropped on, let's get back to Nick Murray's case study on why you have to be careful of the financial media and the peer pressure I think they exert on you on sell. Sell. It's that constant whisper, sell. And here's what he said. So this happened June 1st on a Friday. What do you think the headlines were from the news media right after this unemployment report came out?
Well, if unemployment was the lowest rate, lowest it had been in the last 50 years, it had to be positive headlines. It had to be lowest unemployment ever. Things are good. Things are happy. We need to celebrate. Things are moving in the right direction. Surely that's what the headline said.
Here's the Yahoo Finance 2 headlines that came out that day. Quote, unemployment is at an 18-year low. That's positive.
That's good.
But will new tariffs spoil the party? And, quote, the jobs report had some downsides too. How is that even a headline? So it's just crazy.
Yes, that's like somebody saying, they had birthday cake, but it wasn't chocolate. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm hearing when I hear those headlines.
So here's what Nick Murray had to say, and this is his quote. He said, again, these were not yes, but caveats, 5 paragraphs down in the stories, following all the positives and cited in the interest of journalistic objectivity and balance. These were the headlines, and he bold-faced that. You can't make this stuff up. And, and this is the stuff that I think is proving that if you watch the CNBCs or the Fox businesses and all these things, and you're taking in all this negative information every day, I think it has a bad result on you. And I think it's a peer pressure that puts you at odds with behaviors that are actually positive. And let me give you some thoughts on that. We're doing research for another show we're doing on market timing right now.
And it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think it will be fun. And one of the things that I have found from doing this research is that the biggest mistake that market timers make is that they're on the other side of the coin from what the behavior that is successful and rewarded from the markets. And that's just being in the markets and being an optimist.
Right.
I mean, we have the quote, it's not how much you make in the market, it's how much time you have in the market.
Yeah, I think sometimes we say like this, it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market.
That is so much better. See, that's why I'm horrible. I get the gist of it, but I never make it poetic or make it where it's going to end up on a Twitter feed as a quotable. It just doesn't.
Those are called memes. It's
yeah,
not gonna be a meme.
So thank you for cleaning that up, Bo, because it really does help. And here's a quote from Winston Churchill also. He says, "I'm an optimist. It does not seem too much use being anything else."
That's right. It doesn't serve you most often, especially when it comes to investing, because we talk about this all the time, Brian. Just anecdotally, the markets are up 8 out of every 10 years. I mean, that's kind of the loose anecdote if you look at average source. So if you're someone who's always thinking the markets are about to turn down and you're going to sit on the sidelines, you're going to wait for the next dip, you're going to wait for the next recession, you're kind of betting against the house.
Yeah.
And, Vegas has kind of taught us that's not the place that you want to be betting against the house.